KD on Monday. Obviously, we're watching the national championship game. The Canes couldn't get it done, which we were obviously all watching that. We were not watching the Heat versus the Warriors. In that game, Jimmy Butler tears his ACL. He's 37 years old. He's owed $50 million next season. The Warriors are in a really interesting place. They've decided they didn't want to play Kuminga basically the entire season. Now Jimmy Butler's out, and that opens the door for Jonathan Kuminga. It opens the door for a lot of different conversations to be had in Golden State. What was your thoughts on A, the Jimmy Butler injury, but B, what's going on with JK basically?
Anytime you see somebody go down, Tone, like,
it's brutal.
You feel it.
Yeah.
You feel
We've
it.
all been there.
Yeah, you feel it. So, shout out to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy is always, giving his all to the game, and he's played the game hard and ferocious, and he's opinionated. But one of the best team players, that this generation has seen. So I was sad for Jimmy. But also, it's a great opportunity. When somebody goes down, there's a great opportunity for someone to step up. Obviously, Kuminga is a talent. If he wasn't such a talent, we wouldn't be talking about him as much. I think Golden State really hedged their bets and used him as an insurance policy. So from their perspective, they have navigated the Kuminga situation pretty well from their perspective. But what
keyword their perspective.
Their perspective, the organizational, the org chart.
Yeah, keyword their perspective.
They've been able to navigate that. However, they have rubbed him the wrong way. He's probably missed out on $50 million with, as much talent as he has. But the system benefited, the organization and not the player because he was restricted. And so they could have matched anyone. And so most teams wouldn't lay out that money with that kind of, hovering over their head. But, Kuminga has been a consummate pro in this situation. I think he's done a good job of keeping himself ready. I think he's navigated playing 16 games or not playing 16 games straight and still being able to come out and have 20 points in 21 minutes, which is incredible.
20.7 boards. Like, he was out there balling.
In 21 minutes. The bottom line is they know how talented he is. They didn't want to just part ways and not get anything. And a lot of the casual fans, you don't understand that those guys were playing chess with this situation, not checkers. And they positioned themselves really, really well from a infrastructural standpoint from their perspective. But what they did is that they hurt this kid. And he doesn't necessarily want to play there now. Now they're going to need him, and he's requested a trade. So, yeah, we got to keep watching and see what happens in Golden State.
I'm just really interested to see, like, all right, from a ownership perspective, you had the trade for Jimmy Butler, and we've heard Steve Kerr say, I don't want to play Jimmy, JK, and Draymond at the same time, which I get. I understand if you have different spacing, you want the offense to run a certain way. You want the offense to run through certain somebody. I get that. JK, all he's done is produced. When he comes out, like, he scores. He'll have 25. He'll have 30. He'll have a 40. On an on night. And the fact that they've continued to self-destruct their own asset by not playing. How you said 16 games in a row. He had a DNP coach's decision. How is that allowing this asset to flourish, even if you want to trade him and get something back for him, right? Because the whole thing was we want him as a restricted free agent because we don't want anybody to match what he is, and we don't want to lose him for nothing. But then why are you treating him now like nothing?
Yeah.
Now when Jimmy Butler tears his ACL, now you want to start using him, but is it to get him traded? Is it to try and get something else for him? You've sabotaged your own asset for a guy who's basically said, all right, I want to trade. And I don't know if you heard Mike Dunleavy's comments.
I did.
Post game. Let's put him in real quick.
I think as far as the demand, I'm aware of that. I think when in terms of demands, when you make a demand, there needs to be demand on the market. So we'll see where that unfolds. But heard always with these guys, I tell them I'm willing to work with them. Want to help people out, whether that's JK or any player on a roster. So we're good with, if that's his wishes, trying to figure that out, but we got to do what's best for our organization, and that's what we'll do. As far as it goes with the deadline coming up, I think we'll take the next couple of weeks to assess this team a little bit more. I felt pretty good with where we're at heading into last night's game in terms of what we need to do. I thought our team was playing really well, heading in the right direction. Obviously, things have changed, so I want to take a couple of weeks here to watch these games and see our team and what we can do better.
All right, so he said to have a demand, there needs to be a demand, which is basically nobody's called for Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah. And again, we don't know the validity to that. We know he's a excellent ball player, and you can tell by what he's gone through in the last 2 seasons, basically, where his head's at. Because I feel like if it was me, you could speak for yourself on if it was you in that situation, you would probably not have the same amount of grace for the organization that JK is showing right now.
Yeah, man, it's a tough situation, from a player's perspective. But he had to make a decision as well, right? Because he could have taken the qualifying offer and just said, hey, I'm going to roll the dice.
Bet on myself, right?
And bet on myself. But also the organization could have matched at any time.
He was stuck. He was stuck. There was nothing he could do.
So a lot of times as fans, what'll happen is we'll see it from the organizational side, but we don't see the player's perspective. And, this is one of those situations where, I feel like, the Golden State Warriors did their part, right? Because they have a great insurance policy and a young asset who's talented. And if somebody goes down, because you have older guys who can get in and produce at a high level. But also I kind of put him in that Michael Beasley feel, in a sense where, like, Michael Beasley, we all view him as a guy who can go get buckets, but not on a team with LeBron, right? And so it's easier to keep him on the bench and have him as an insurance policy than to find a way, to put him in the game and play with the guys, because he might be taking opportunities and reps away from guys who you consider more valuable. And so I think Kuminga's kind of in that same situation, and I think he's handled this in a marvelous way. But as far as, like, Dunleavy's comment on, like, demands and demand, like, boy, that is so one-sided. That is so from the organization standpoint. It doesn't impact the player in a positive way, in my opinion.
Yeah, it just basically says, like, you're not worth anything to anybody. Nobody's called about you.
Nobody's worth anything if you don't play. If you don't play for 16 games.
If you don't put anything on tape, what are you supposed to do?
You got all-stars going for one pick or a first-round pick or a second-round. Like, you got all-stars getting traded just man for man.
For no picks. Trae Young got traded to the Wizards for no picks.
No mans. But at the same time, it's I understand the organizational perspective on that, but also understand the players. Yeah. Right? And because they're 50-50 in basketball-related income, we have to normalize that players have impact, they have reach, they have rights, they have a perspective, and we have to value those things the same. We can't say that the player is wrong when the organization has all the leverage in this situation. Right. And that kid was more valuable than what he got paid. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
And what I think is upsetting is he was more valuable as an asset than a player. And I don't like looking at players that way, right? Because they're people. And what basically is they were telling us, like, hey, we like the thought of you better than we like you.
Yeah.
And that's a really sour note to feel when you can ball, you can go out and give somebody 20 on any given night if you're given the opportunity to. And everybody's on this. There are very few people that are never told no, right? Everybody's told no in every walk of life. You've been told no a million times. I've been told no a million times. But that's what gets us the fuel to the fire to be like, oh, you tell me no? Perfect. Watch how you say yes next time, because I'm going to work to make sure that happens.
Right.
And that's where he is right now, where it's like, he's got to be able to put good stuff on tape to control his own destiny, where his destiny has not been controlled by him. He's got to a point where I made it to the NBA. Here are my talents. I can make money off this. And then the organization has pushed down his worth as a player. And that, to me, I just really didn't like. The last thing I'll say on the Warriors' perspective, this kind of makes me feel for Steph. Jimmy's been having a quietly very good season, 21-5-5. He's a guy that obviously we know ramps up towards the end of the year to start really going. It feels like this was the last embers of a Golden State run. If they could maybe get there, it was going to be incredibly tough, knowing the Thunder are bad. Yeah. The Spurs are bad. The Rockets are bad. The Nuggets are bad. Like, you started, naming all these teams, and you're going, all right, maybe Golden State can be an 8 seed, a 7 seed, and maybe try and sneak in somehow and surprise some teams. I just don't know where the Steph legacy ends here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's wow. You
can't trade him. You can't trade the face of your franchise.
Yeah. Steph, he's going to have some decisions to make. I think Steve Kerr has won so many championships with his guys playing a certain brand of basketball that like that's his coaching philosophy. That's why I think Eric Spoelstra and Greg Popovich were guys who could coach their team, not necessarily their system. They could adjust their system and be just as good in the new system that accommodates their players, right? But Steph has a decision to make. Obviously, he's a legend in Golden State. I think Steph should be one of those guys who ends his career in Golden State.
Facts.
But with the new free agency and guys with legacy and things like that, you open the door, because Steph isn't slowing down right now.
No.
You can see him playing however long he wants to. He's in great shape. He's still, extremely productive and efficient and marketable.
And that shot will age forever. He could be 50 years old sitting in the corner shooting a three.
And there's certain guys who stayed with their teams the whole time. Like if Steph leaves Golden State, does that impact his
legacy?
Because every time LeBron left, people say, "Oh, he's a
notch,
runner,
right?
He's a track star." So I'll leave it right there because I know we kind of cover Golden State a lot, but I'll be watching, and I'm rooting for Clay. Not Clay, Kuminga, to have an impact. He's shown a lot of professionalism. And I'm also like rooting for Steve Kerr because at the end of the day, we respect Steve. He's a champion as a player. He's a champion as a coach. He's a champion as an Olympian. He's gone through a lot. He gets it, right? And man, this will help Kuminga in his development because he won't take it for granted.